Hi there, West in the World. Welcome to your review video for Tuesday, December the 2nd, following this morning's lecture on the beginnings of the Cold War. The Cold War, we said, is an event in some ways defined by what doesn't happen. It earns its name because it never comes to a shooting conflict between the two main antagonists, the United States and the Soviet Union, the world's two superpowers at the conclusion of World War II. But just because there is no shooting directly between these two does not mean that it is not a serious struggle. On the one hand, of course, the United States and the Soviet Union are actively engaged in various attempts to gain superiority over one another. And this runs the gamut from sort of spying and other kinds of sort of invisible subterfuge to expressions of competition on athletics fields and sports venues around the world, but is defined chiefly by the sort of ideological gap between them, with America as the sort of representative of capitalist, liberal, democratic governments, and the Soviet Union the representative of the Marxist, communist outlook in the world. And although they never shoot directly at each other, of course we said that the Cold War is very much a hot war for many of the world's peoples who live in places like Somalia, Ethiopia, Afghanistan, Vietnam, Cambodia, Nicaragua, and others. We tried to get a sense of how this war emerged. What were the events as World War II was brought to a close that helped trigger this next phase that's so important over the 40 years that follow? We saw the different approaches of the United States and the Soviet Union to concluding their conflicts with Germany and tried to understand how that fed into it. We looked at some of the examples of the ways in which the Cold War manifested itself, from the Berlin blockade to the Korean conflict. And we concluded by talking briefly about the introduction of nuclear weapons into the world's sort of strategic armaments, and particularly the arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union. This becomes really the defining feature of the Cold War, the decision to prevent war by making the cost of war so high that no one will dare risk it. And on the one hand, this strategy sort of works. There is no war between the United States and the Soviet Union. But I was trying to suggest at the end that the toll that this exacts in terms of anxiety in the public, in terms of people's uncertainty about the future, is pretty severe. And what we'll see in the days ahead is that this produces some pretty widespread unhappiness in the United States and the Soviet Union, and in the world at large. And we're going to talk as we go about what those changes produce in the generation that comes after. So, thanks everybody. I'll see you in class on Thursday morning.